May 11, 1997. Chess genius Garry Kasparov faces supercomputer Deep Blue across the board. After 19 moves, Gary raises his hands in frustration and steps away. A machine has beaten one of the greatest minds in chess. The world of chess will never be the same again. Cut to September 2007, Mexico City. Viswanathan Anand becomes world champion, dethroning the reigning champion, Vladimir Kramnik. When Indian Grandmaster Anand holds the trophy, a circle 15 centuries wide finally closes. The game has come home to its birthplace, India. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm Sarvajit. Welcome to India's Golden Age podcast. Subscribe to listen to stories of India's golden era. Let's get back to chess and return to the beginning. India, 6th century Common Era. A Gupta general studies the Chaturanga board the way he once studied enemy lines of Huns. He moves a piece and says,
This game is the chaos of war, trapped in a box.
Later in the day, an imaginary court noble, let's call him Vikram, glances in the board and observes.
Except for the chariot, it reflects our today's battlefield. It is unlike other board games we play.
Chaturanga was truly the world's first metaverse. Its original video game, it was the earliest simulation of war, a structured world of decisions and consequences. When Bana later wrote that only Ashtapadas teach the positions of Chaturanga, he captured a truth. Strategic thinking had long been the spine of ancient Indian statecraft. So how ancient was Chaturanga? The 2400 before Common Era grid from Lothal site sits in a museum. No pieces, no inscriptions. Some claim it's proof that the game is 4000 years old, but others dismiss it as backgammon's ancestor. However, it is possible that the game was played in some form before the Gupta Golden Age. The reference of Chaturanga word comes in the Mahabharata. The presence of chariots in Chaturanga does suggest an origin earlier than the Gupta era, since chariot warfare disappeared during the Gupta era. Cut to a couple of decades later, it's mid-6th century, Vikram, now an envoy of the Gupta king, enters Ctesiphon, capital of the Sasanian Empire. King Khosrow I presides over a court famous for its wise men. Vikram places Chaturanga before the Persian king and says, If you claim to be king of kings, your court should be wise enough to understand this game. Later, in a private meeting, Vikram places the Chaturanga board before the Persian king for the wise men, Vuzur Meher, to study every piece. Vikram raises the stakes and says,
If your wise man Vuzurgmir can deduce the rules, we'll pay tribute. If not, you pay us.
A risky dare indeed, King Khosrow thinks. The stakes rest on 64 squares. Vuzur Meher solves the riddle overnight and even creates a second game to challenge the Indians. Perhaps the tale is Persian propaganda. Yet no one can deny that Chaturanga, or the ancient chess, was the IQ test to the ancient world. The Persians renamed the game Shatranj, the Persian twist on Chaturang. In Persian, the king was called the Shah. When trapped, players said Shah Mat, meaning the king is helpless, not dead. As the game moved west, Shah Mat slowly became Checkmate. With each new region, the game evolved, taking on local ideas. Cut to 651's Common Era. Arab armies overrun Persia and the Sasanian Empire collapses. In the Arab caliph's court, a cleric steps forward. Is chess gambling? The cleric asks.
It is not. There is no dice, no betting, no luck involved, just logic and skill.
The caliph declares the game a mandatory pursuit at the court. Sometime later, another cleric reminds the caliph.
Islamic law forbids carvings of living creatures.
The caliph summons the artisan woman, let's call her Zainab. Indeed, call Zainab, the caliph says. Once she appears in the court, the caliph instructs Zainab.
Zainab, make the pieces functional, minimalist. No designs, no ornaments, nothing fancy.
In Baghdad's souks, Zainab reshapes the pieces. She carves cylinders and clean forms. She strips away likeness until only meaning remains. The Indian chariot becomes the geometric rook. The Islamic design makes chess portable, accessible, universal. By 1000 Common Era, chess pushes into Christian Europe with Moorish scholars, Viking merchants, and Crusader armies. Europeans examine the stark Islamic pieces and try to make sense of them. The elephant becomes the bishop because the notch looks like a mitre. The slit is really a pair of tusks. In France, the notch becomes the jester's hat. In Mongolia, it becomes a camel. Each culture rewrites the board. Most pieces change except for the ashwa, the horse. Knight is the great survivor. Its unique non-linear jump is so distinctive that it resisted reinterpretation. A horse is a horse, whether in India or Spain. In 1254, King Louis IX banned chess. He called it a useless and a boring game. The priests condemned it. The church warned against its corrupting influence. But everyone kept playing. Royal courts, markets, troop camps, bars. Bets escalated, knives came out. Even monks succumbed to the game. One monk created a folding chessboard to hide the game inside a book. Back in India, the Mughals kept the game alive. Akbar orders giant chessboards at Fatehpur Sikri and plays with real people as pieces. A Persian diplomat was forced to bray like an ass after losing a match in Emperor Jahangir's court. The game had travelled far, but India had never been far from it. Meanwhile, in the Mediterranean, sun scorches 15th century Europe, a continent fascinated by powerful women and queens. In a court chamber, an imaginary queen stares at the board. She says to a nobleman,
The councillor moves one square at a time. It's too slow.
she drags the piece across the diagonal. Swoosh! The board wakes up. The game turns lethal. The counselor becomes queen, fast and ruthless. The result is mad queen chess. Pawn promotion, castling, and new openings makes play faster and sharper. Game that took hours could potentially end in a few moves. The mad queen chess spreads like wildfire. The queen becomes the most powerful piece ever carved and helps keeps the game alive. While Arabs and Europeans reinvented the game, the monks and Indian merchants carried chess east. In China, it took the form of Shangqi, a board split by a river representing the Yellow River. Pieces were placed on intersections and movement followed the lines. Japan developed shogi, where captured pieces could fight for the other side, a mirror of samurai loyalties. Multiple chess traditions emerged, diverging like biological species in different ecosystems. The Indian game proved sturdy enough to change without losing its identity. Cut back to Renaissance Europe. The printing press transforms chess. William Caxton's The Game and Play of the Chessy becomes the second book ever printed in English. In 1770, a Hungarian inventor, Wolfgang von Kempelen, unveiled the mechanical Turk, an automatic chess playing machine that stunned Europe, beating most challengers, including Napoleon Bonaparte. The truth, of course, was a brilliant hoax. A hidden human chess master controlled the machine using magnets. Yet, despite the deception, the mechanical Turk popularized chess and became a symbolic precursor to real chess machines and eventually computer. In 1849, Nathaniel Cook's chess design became the standard, thanks to Howard Stanton's endorsement. The Stanton set sweeps the world. In 1913, H.J.R. Murray, publishes a massive study drawn from Sanskrit texts, Arabic manuscripts, and European sources. His finding is blunt.
My research proves that India invented chess.
His work is foundational. His scholars still rely on his work today. 16 years later, in 1929, a young man, Sultan Khan, arrives in England from Punjab. He waits in the corner of a London club, watching the Sahibs play, nervous. But when he sits on the board, everything changes. He becomes a different man. Within months, this native beats the strongest players in the empire, winning the British Championship 3 times in 4 attempts. The irony cuts deep. A colonized man proving mastery in a game born on his own soil. After 5 years, Sultan Khan comes back to India with his master, disappearing into obscurity almost as suddenly as he rose. Of all the stories tied to chess, the most famous is the legend of Sissa, the sage, the story goes, who created the game to teach humility to a king. When the king asked what reward he wanted, Sissa said,
1 grain of rice on the first square, doubled on every next one.
The king agreed without thinking. By the time he reached the 64th square, he owed 18 quintillion grains of rice, enough rice to bury India 40 feet deep. Ancient India understood exponential growth long before Wall Street. Chess was strategy and wisdom in a single design. An aging Vikram sits with a bunch of students. He taps the pawn and says,
The pawn moves through danger 1 step at a time, vulnerable to every piece on the board.
A student adds,
And everything changes when it reaches the other side?
Vikrama nods and says,
It is the only piece that can transform. It can become a queen.
The message is simple. Transformation is real, but only for those who survive the journey. Every Indian founder, refugee, and first generation achiever knows this truth. You are a pawn until you are not. Every chess game is a new game. There are more possible chess games than atoms in the universe. Mathematicians call this the Shannon number, 10 to the power of 120. And don't forget what Persian King Khusro would remind us.
Shahmat, or checkmate, is only another way of saying one more game.
If this 1500-year chess journey spoke to you, subscribe to India's Golden Age podcast. Explore the Gupta era where Chaturanga or chess took shape. Explore my novel which is upcoming, Dhruva Devi, my first in Gupta trilogy. Comment with your favorite chess story and I'll see you on the next move. Bye for now. Jai Hind.